about the CBI program on CBI websites, on advertisements, and other publications still presents only two options to obtain Dominican citizenship. Number one, the Economic Diversification Fund, or EDF, a direct cash contribution to government dedicated to financing public sector projects. And two, real estate, investments in approved real estate projects. Nothing, absolutely nothing about housing to this very day. So since 2016, SCARED has been facilitating the secret arrangement with Anthony Hayden of Montreal Management Company, which uses the people's money from the sale of the people's passports to fund housing for the people. But instead of putting the people's money into the people's treasury, the people's consolidated fund, SCARED is putting the people's money in, and he's stubbornly refusing to account to the people for the people's money. He said, and I quote, "In respect to the housing, there was a special dispensation, so it's not under the real estate. It is treated somewhat like the Economic Diversification Fund option, so the fees applicable to the housing are the fees applicable if you were to invest in the EDF, government's direct monetary option." End of quote. For the avoidance of doubt, all the monies from the EDF go into the state treasury. The fees for the housing program are the same as the EDF option, but SCARED's sweetheart deal allows Montreal Management Company to use the CBI housing money to build houses and to make a development profit on the difference between the cost of houses built and the amount of passport money collected for housing. SCARED says, and I quote again, "The housing program is now the premier program. If we did not have the housing program, and if we only had the Range and the Marriott, you would see a dramatic number in terms of revenue for the government. The housing program is doing better than the fund option," end of quote. SCARED's housing program illegally diverts CBI revenues generated through the EDF option from the Treasury to a special account. The program is exclusive to Montreal Management Company, which SCARED has facilitated to cannibalize Dominica's flagship direct cash contribution program with the offer of bargain housing option prices. For example, under the Economic Diversification Fund, the EDF, the legal cost of Dominican citizenship for a family of four is $200,000 US, according to the Citizenship by Investment Act and relevant regulations. Yet, MMC is able to sell Dominican citizenships to a family of four for US $139,700, a discount of US $60,300, which no other CBI agent is able to offer, and which the Citizenship by Investment Unit branded as illegal in a letter to CBI agents dated 11th of October 2018. But Mrs. SCARED tells us, quote, "If we did not have this project and we had this agent, Montreal Management Company, selling for Dominica, all of this money would have been part of the revenue in the consolidated fund. These monies go into the development and therefore cannot be part of the revenue." Section 76 of the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Dominica, the supreme law of the Commonwealth of Dominica, provides that, quote, all revenues or other monies raised or received by Dominica, not being revenues or other monies that are payable by or under any law for the time being in force in Dominica into some other fund established for a specific purpose, shall be paid into and from a consolidated fund, end of quote. These revenues raised from the Citizenship by Investment Program of the State of Dominica for housing for the State of Dominica are public funds and properly belong in the Treasury, the Consolidated Fund of the State of Dominica. There is no law requiring such revenues to be paid into some other fund established for a specific purpose. They must be received into and disbursed from the Consolidated Fund. We believe that the CBI revenues placed in the public purse for the financial year 2018-2019 is more than $1 billion less than the amount actually collected. The Prime Minister agrees, but is angry that questions are being asked about the change left over after the less than $200 million spent on MMC housing in 2018-2019. We need and have requested information on public funds from the CBI program for each of the last 3 financial years ending June 30th, 2019 as follows. 1, the number of citizenships approved, broken down by Economic Development Fund, real estate, housing, and any other citizenship access options. Number 2, the amount of money paid for the approved citizenships broken down by Economic Development Fund, real estate, housing, and any other citizenship access option. Number 3, receipts, disbursements, and year-end balances for all special funds, trust funds, escrow accounts, and other funds, accounts operating with money derived from and or connected to the Citizenship by Investment Program. 56 days since the issue was presented in Parliament, there are no answers to the very simple questions of the people. Where is the money? How much has been spent on the people's business? How much remains? Where is the people's change? All we have heard from Skerrit in response is an elaborate justification why Anthony Hayden of Montreal Management Company should be head honcho of Dominica's CBI financed estate, using our passport money to enrich foreigners while preventing Dominican architects, engineers, construction workers, truckers, heavy equipment operators, and other trade practitioners and professionals from benefiting from involvement in the build-out of Dominica's social and economic infrastructure. The head of Dominica's government is more interested in signing away hundreds of millions of dollars of passport money to foreign interest than he is in providing a few $100,000 to clean the list of voters and complete the process of issuing ID cards for voting to help secure free and fair elections as the reliable backbone of our democracy. Skerrit's handlers have instructed him to remain silent on the $1.2 billion matter and create distractions to focus on Lennox Linton to show the Dominican citizens that he is not qualified to lead Dominica. Headlining that list of distractions at this time is the commencement of legal action against me by Gregor Nassif. He has publicly ridiculed the honest pursuit of my parliamentary oversight responsibilities as ludicrous. He has publicly branded me as dishonest and incompetent, but he wants me to pay him, I presume, millions of dollars for truthful, factual statements that he is a beneficiary of the real estate component of Dominica's citizenship by investment program, under which two developers of a hotel project, according to a Dominica ambassador at the United Nations, made $163 million for themselves from Dominican passport money before the hotel officially opened its doors. If you don't know me by now, verily I say unto you, no man intimidates me, no threat scares me, no fear enslaves me. Yes, Gregor Nassif, I am a little black boy of my ancestors who fought and died so I could live as a free human being committed to a life of truth, righteousness, justice, and good manners. I serve a mighty God and a blessed country. I am not a hewer of wood, nor a drawer of water for passport money pirates. I don't answer to them, and I will damn to the pit of hell their Skerrit-facilitated obscene profiteering from the sale of Dominica's passports as injurious to the well-being and progress of the people of Dominica. From the shoulders of my ancestors, I will speak on matters affecting the public interest of Dominica without fear or favor, affection or ill will, regardless of who likes it, who doesn't like it, or who wants to sue for it. In the weeks following my disclosure in Parliament of the missing $1.2 billion, the attack on Lennox Linton was vile, it was savage, and it was merciless. But I'm still standing, more resolute and more determined that Roosevelt Skerrit and Anthony Hayden of MMC will account for every cent of the money which belongs to the people of the Commonwealth of Dominica. Fellow citizens, as an elected member of Parliament and leader of the parliamentary opposition, I am sworn to honor, uphold, and preserve the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Dominica, the supreme law of Dominica. In this labor of love for God and country, I am duty-bound to ensure that the public interest in the constitutional rule of law and good, transparent, accountable governance of the people's business is protected at all times. Let me make it clear that this is not a fight to find Lennox Linton's personal money, UWP's money, Labour Party money, Roosevelt Skerrit's money, or money belonging to Skerrit's friends at home and abroad. This is a struggle to find hundreds of millions of dollars that belong to the people of Dominica so that those monies can be used for the benefit of all the people of Dominica, not just for Skerrit and his chosen few. The private sector in this country is subjected to the garnishing of their personal accounts if the Inland Revenue Division discovers any discrepancy in taxes. The government garnishes accounts before citizens of this country are able to have a hearing, and they ask you to appeal to a non-existent tribunal. Yet the Prime Minister, the Minister of Finance, refuses to explain the whereabouts of $1.2 billion belonging to the people of Dominica. Enough is enough. It is time for Roosevelt Skerrit to come clean with the people's money. The people have been patient with you, sir. They have trusted you. They have given you the benefit of the doubt at every given opportunity. Many of them are still prepared to believe you at a time when it's as clear as crystal that you have deceived them, lied to them, bullied them into ignorance, manipulated them, and preyed on their vulnerabilities. The parliamentary opposition first raised the matter in Parliament, no answer. We wrote to the Financial Secretary for an explanation. The response was rude, and dismissive. We have consulted with a broad range of civil society organizations in order to underline the necessity of a response to legitimate concerns over the stewardship of Dominica's passport money. At the National Assembly, on the issue in Roseau on September 6, 2019, the Prime Minister and Minister of Finance was asked to respond with a proper account of the people's money on or before September 20th, 2019. He has refused to respond. As the parliamentary opposition, sworn to protect the interests of the Dominican people, we are left with no choice but to proceed with the following actions. Number one, a peaceful gathering on Victoria Street at 3 p.m. on Monday, September 30th, 2019, to present a formal complaint to the President of the Commonwealth of Dominica requesting his intervention. Two, a peaceful gathering outside police headquarters on Bath Road at 3:45 p.m. on Monday, September 30th, 2019, to present a formal complaint to the Commissioner of Police requesting his intervention. Number three, a peaceful gathering on the Dame Eugenia Charles Boulevard outside of the High Court at 4:30 p.m. on Monday, September 30th, 2019, to present notification of our pursuit of appropriate legal action to have the missing money deposited in the Consolidated Fund of Dominica. Four, a campaign seeking the assistance of the U.S. Federal Bureau of Investigations, Britain's Scotland Yard, Interpol, and the European Union's Financial Intelligence Unit to find the missing $1.2 billion and deposit it in the Consolidated Fund of Dominica. A campaign to inform, number five, campaign to inform the international community of the refusal of the government of Dominica to account for the missing $1.2 billion. And six, beginning on Monday, a campaign of civil disobedience all over Dominica until the list of electors is cleaned, ID cards for voting are issued, and the missing $1.2 billion is properly and completely accounted for. In the words of our national anthem, I call the sons and daughters of our beloved Nature Island to come forward, to embrace the right to stand for right, to fight for honor, to do the right, to be firm, and to be fair, to toil with hearts and hands and voices so we can prosper and not be imprisoned in the never-ending struggle to survive, while a few make merry with our passport billions. In this campaign to save the soul of Dominica, to clear the way for real change that will allow us to become the best place to live, the best place to work, and the best place to enjoy life, we won't turn back. No, we won't turn back. Thank you. God bless you. I'll take your questions.
Ladies and gentlemen of the media, Dominicans here and abroad, I am saddened and I am pained to be standing here to be taking your questions. Really, the question is, should you be asking us questions? 1.2 billion is missing, and lying at the hospital is a 3-year-old requiring surgery. And our own professional is denied access to bring care. 1.2 billion is missing. 300,000 cannot be made available to help us cleanse the voters list and to issue us with ID cards to vote. 1.2 billion is missing, and it is trivialized by members of the cabinet and the government of the Commonwealth of Dominica. how much more pain can this government bring to bear on the people of Dominica before they realize the folly of their ways? When are they going to realize that enough is enough? I say to you this afternoon, that the back of the proverbial camel is being loaded. We don't know which straw is going to break its back. We'll take your questions.
You mentioned, one of them I heard is civil disobedience. Can you explain to us exactly what you refer to when you mentioned that one of the campaigns will be civil disobedience?
Exactly what it means, and it begins on Monday.
Right. By highlighting civil disobedience, can one not say that that is public incitement?
You can say it is whatever you want to say, Curtis. Of course, police officers in Dominica, law enforcement, members of the government have treated simple statements that bear no relationship to incitement as incitement, because that's what they want to do. In the meantime, when members of the Dominica Labour Party invite people to go and throw hot water on United Workers' Party visiting their homes, and when they invite them to hunt down the supporters of the United Workers' Party, whether they're hiding in La Plaine or in Salisbury or wherever, like Al-Qaeda, and deal with them, I never heard you or anybody else asking any questions. But you're trying to read into the universally accepted term of civil disobedience, incitement. Let me ask you this question, Curtis Matthew. Have you bothered yourself to check into the meaning of the term civil disobedience? Not me. Don't ask me the meaning. Yes. Civil disobedience. Right. Civil disobedience. Civil disobedience. I'm referring.
Further, is that not incitement?
No, it's not.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes.
I have always heard that the international community is not able to intervene in democratic countries. So on that one, I'd like to question the involvement of the international community.
They will tell us that. But we feel compelled to draw it to the attention of the international community, to draw it to the attention of international investigative bodies, international law enforcement agencies, that we have a problem in Dominica, which in our money that could be in distant lands, and we may need the assistance of these agencies to help us. Investigations, whatever help they can provide for us. We're looking for $1.2 billion of the people's money that have come from the sale of passports that take place in foreign lands. And some of that money may well be in other countries. We don't know. We have to find out. The lady at the back, the gentleman in the middle, and then Curtis Matthew. Yes. Yes. No, I cannot sit down here and tell you what the people will do. These individuals have specific positions in the overall governance and stewardship of Dominica. The president with an overseer's role, the police commissioner and his team with a law enforcement prevention of crime responsibility. And so when the matters will be brought to their attention, they will decide how they're going to deal with it. What we're looking for is assistance from whoever can provide that assistance to allow us to find the people's $1.2 billion. Yes, sir.
Yes, I'm Ellison Baby.
Yes, sir.
You said that you speak truth. And your 19 St. Martin
when Skelly took money from the CBI to tickets for people coming to the Do you have any evidence of
That's my opinion.
what that's your opinion?
My opinion. Clearly stated. And I believe the opinion that I have stated. Yes.
On your, what is it that the president of Dominica can do in a case like that if you ask? What do you think he can do? Because the reason for that, the president's role is to act on the advice of the prime minister. So what role can the president play to regulate?
That's a question that you should properly put to the president. He is the head of state. And in this democracy, there has to be responsibilities that the head of state can, in good moral conscience, take on when the future security of the state is being threatened. It may not now be clearly outlined in front of you or I, but I'm sure the president knows better than all of us, and he will respond when the specific complaint is put before him. Yes. I'm hoping the gatherings will be very large. As I stand here right now and tell you that we're going to have gatherings, I cannot tell you that there will be 10 people or 1,000 people or 10,000 people. I'm hoping there will be 10,000 people because this is a matter affecting all Dominicans, and we expect Dominicans to come from all areas of Dominica into the city on Monday afternoon to stand and to be part of this struggle to get the people's $1.2 billion back. Well, we have in assemblies, we have in gatherings of people, which does not require the permission of the police. I should tell you that for some time now, for quite a number of days, we have been waiting on the police response to our request for a march in the city on Monday afternoon. We have received no response. What we have announced today is 3 peaceful assemblies in different parts of the city. And we're hoping for maximum participation. Have we heard from them? No, no. I understand the report should be out any time now, but we haven't heard anything further. Any other questions? Yes.
I have no explanation that the listing and listing is likely reference between the applicant and the developer and so the Muslim national board after that. Why is that explanation flawed?
Why is the explanation flawed? As I just explained, we knew nothing about any housing option to obtain citizenship of Dominica before this missing money surfaced in the budget debate of 2019. And what we were told is that if this money were to have gone into the budget, it would have been $2.2 billion, not $1 billion. So when we subtract the $1 billion from the $2.2 billion, we end up with an amount of $1.2 billion, which seems to us to be Mrs. Skerritt's own understanding of the extent of the revenues that were raised, collected under the Economic Diversification Fund option, styled housing, but not placed in the revenue of Dominica. So any suggestion that the monies are in housing and so they are not supposed to be in the revenue is flawed to me, because the housing is public housing. That's what the Prime Minister says. These houses represent state assets. There is no private interest or investment in these housing projects. They all belong to the country of Dominica, and therefore the money from Dominica collected to build these housing projects must be in the people of Dominica's consolidated fund. Any argument otherwise will be unacceptable to me and the United Workers' Party. Yes. In terms of the revenues? No, well, this information we have, and we have, on the basis of which we have queried the revenue into the state coffers for the year, the financial year 2018-2019. And let me just, for clarification, say that the 2018-2019 financial year began on the 1st of July 2018 and ended on the 30th of June 2019. That's the 12-month period. So when we got the estimates, the official estimates of revenue and expenditure for this year, they would include, they included rather, as they normally do, the actual revenue and expenditure for the previous financial year. The year we reviewed in end of July going into August in the budget was the 2019-2020 financial year. But in those numbers that we saw, you had the comparative numbers for, actual numbers for 2018-2019. And there is it we saw confirmation that while the government had a budget of $406 million to be made from citizenship by investment, it only came back with an actual of 226 million, 180 million short, or some 80% or thereabout short of the target. So that's what raised the red flag, and that is why we are asking the questions about what appears to be a clear discrepancy, irregularity in the reporting of the citizenship by investment numbers. And we thought that that would have been a very simple thing to answer, quite frankly. Any finance minister worth his salt, you know, far less one who has been in the position for 15 years, should be able to have those numbers available to the people based on an inquiry in the parliament within 24 to 48 hours. And here we are 56 days later, not a credible response from the Prime Minister in terms of what has happened to the money. Yes.
One, you said that there will be no election without electoral reform. What does that mean? Does that mean that you will not participate if there is an election without electoral reform?
It means that there will be no elections without electoral reform, and it also means that there will be elections with electoral reform. One coin, two different sides. Flip it. No, flip it.
So if election is called, if election is called without electoral reform, will you participate in the election?
Elections are called without electoral reform. That's a bridge that we're going to cross when we get there. Right now, we're simply saying there will be electoral reform. The list will be cleaned, and ID cards will be issued for voting before the next election. And that's what I'm saying.
So you can only know that if you will participate when it's being reached.
We will get to that bridge, and trust me, we will cross it. At the back.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's $1,200 million. Not as far as I'm aware. If the money, as I said, that money is public money. It is not investors' money that is going into some hotel project that's been invested in a hotel project. It is money from the sale of passports to build houses for the people of Dominica, and therefore it belongs in the consolidated fund. Straight and plain. Yeah. Thank you. Yes, sir. Thank you very much for the block yesterday. Yes. No, this is an overall exercise, an overall campaign in which the people of Dominica are going to get involved in. The United Workers' Party is simply taking leadership on what it considers to be an issue of grave national concern and significance. And so we are looking ahead and pointing the direction with which we should go in order to get this matter resolved. But there are a number of other groups and organizations in Dominica that will make their voices heard on this matter, because it's not our money we're looking for, you know. The people of Dominica want to know what happened to their money. And so civil society organizations, groups, neighborhoods across Dominica will get involved in this. This is just the beginning. The money we're talking about is not money that is in the piggy bank of Roosevelt Skerrit. That is the people's money. The people's money. And the people have a right, indeed a duty and a responsibility, to be part and parcel of the effort to have their money back where it belongs. The legal action? Well, it's legal action. Our attorneys are advising us at the moment, and an action will be filed in the court that the intention of which is to force the government to account for every cent of the money that we're talking about. Yes, sir.
Election is due in by May next year, couple months ago, 2 months ago. And your party claims that you won the election. Don't you think it would be wise just to wait to win the election and then you as Prime Minister to force Skerrit out to respond to raising money?
Well, there's all that too. There's all that too. When we get into office, we have work to do. Right now, as the People's Parliamentary Opposition, we also have work to do. And we do not have the luxury of leaving something like this until we get into government. It is important now that Mrs. Skerrit is in the Finance Minister's office with this Finance Minister's responsibility. And the responsibility of the Prime Minister as well. It's important for him to do what is right and account to the people of Dominica for their money. And we will insist on that.
Wouldn't that be like February 7th, 2017, when you have the campaign of Skerrit more to
Well, you see, what you're suggesting, sir, what you're suggesting is that we should take note of every demand that people in a democracy have made on the leadership that is not serving them well, that they have not responded to, and decide, well, okay, we have a checklist. That happened over there, that happened over there. The Skerrit didn't go. So we mustn't ask Skerrit any question about the $1.2 billion because he will not answer. No, we don't have that luxury. He did not go. That was for him. He could have gone. We would have been in a better place today. When he accounts for the $1.2 billion, we'll be in a much better place. And he should do it now, rather than wait for us to get into government to force the issue. All right, final question.
Mr. Vincent, I know you have international contact, and you've seen in the media, I don't know if you can read it from there, you've seen Mr. Montara appear in a fucking van. And the first time you've seen him here, he's doing all this. Do you have any information as to where that came from?
I heard a friend of yours on one of your programs, I think it was the Hot Seat, sending me a caution that Mr. Monfared would come out of jail in Iran to sue me. You remember that? You don't think that's a question that would be properly directed to that particular friend of yours who regularly appears in defense of the obscene profiteering that Skerrit facilitates from the sale of Dominican passports? You don't think that would be a good question for him? Yeah, well, remember it when next he appears on your show. I'm sure he'll be back soon. Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you very much for your participation, your patience. You bore with us whilst we prepared. And we thank you for the questions that you asked. We have work to do, yourselves and ourselves and the country, the citizens of this country. let's get on with the work and let's make sure that we have good and accountable government governing our country. Thank you. Have a blessed day. No, no, I'm just asking first, right? If I get it this afternoon, I'll give it to you.